Hello, this is the Stories Beside channel. I release videos every day for you. Subscribe and click the bell. Colleagues humiliated and laughed at the party at the new girl from Cheap Dress, and when the boss introduced his wife to them, they bit their tongues. And with good reason. The boss's wife had expressive eyes, precise figure, and slender legs. What made the coworkers even angrier? Of course, they had nowhere to put their money. Here and go to salons and fitness. Indignant, irritated comrades. And she turned out not to notice the outburst in her direction and looked in love eyes at her husband, part-timer boss. Romance they successfully concealed. And there was a reason for that. Boss Stephen was a man of prominence. 40 years old, tall, slender brunette with blue eyes, muscular figure, and low velvet voice. The female subordinates, when they saw him up close, would go into a stupor. The new girl had only gotten the job a couple months ago. And when did she manage to echo her superiors? It all started with that ill-fated report. Camille, as the new girl's name was, had taken over as bookkeeper from Emily, who had retired. She was entrusted with the fixed assets. There were a lot of them in the firm. Some were still in transit at the bonded warehouse, some mothballed. The boss demanded a list of all the equipment for collateral negotiations with the bank. Camille prepared the list, but overlooked a few machines. They had not yet arrived from customs. The customs agent hadn't told her anything, and her coworkers were silent, busy with their work. That's all the equipment, yes. Camille, are you sure? I think there were more units. This is all I found. Go ahead and check again. You studied the machines that came from Italy and from Italy. A sunny, cheerful Italy appeared in Camille's mind. How nice was it there last summer? Yes, from Italy. Call Sam, our customs agent, and ask him to send you the paperwork for the latest looms. Okay, I can go. Camille is happy. Yes, go ahead. The girl headed for the exit, and Stephen got excited for some reason. She was gone. But the trail of her perfume enveloped him. It stirred the innermost corners of his soul. What kind of fragrance is that? I've never heard it before. Stephen shook his head, wanting to get rid of the obsession. She was walking down a narrow street in the old part of the small town. She had to go all the way down it and come to the woods. Here, the flower she needed was growing not far away. She had never seen it anywhere else. Camille made her own perfume. Her grandmother passed the knowledge on to her. She likes the right combination of flavors. The girl found among forest and meadow herbs and flowers, then mixed in raw materials with the base and spread on a glass jar with a tight lid. She herself used only one favorite fragrance. The others were given to people close to her, tailored to each person's personality. Stephen, what's the problem? Sam, our car's been impounded. What do you mean, arrested? For what reason? I'll come and sort it out. They say that we had to pay some VAT, and it didn't go to the budget. That's why they stopped it. I'll check with the accounting department. Stephen quickly left the office and went to the accounting department. It was lunchtime, and there was no one in the office except Camille. She had already eaten a salad and a piece of fish and was busy putting the documents in a folder. Do you know how to print payroll? Yeah. What's up? We have to pay the tax, or the car won't be allowed out, and we'll get a big fine. Okay, I'll call the head accountant and check. While Camille was talking to the head accountant, Stephen called Sam and reassured him. Yeah, she told me where to get a sample. You're typing. Camille put the folder in front of her and began tapping her fingers rapidly on the keyboard. And who's going to sign? The chief accountant won't be in for another hour. I can sign. Will you come with me to the bank? Get the stamp. Camille came out of the office with her purse on her shoulder and holding a folder. There were documents and a stamp. When she saw what kind of car the boss was driving, she felt a little uneasy. It was a huge black car with a radiator novel gleaming nickel. Stephen opened the door in front of her, and the girl yorked into the cabin. The salon smelled of leather and expensive perfume. All the way there, she had a feeling of what a big difference in status they had. She is one of 2 daughters. Her parents have their own small store close to home. Her older sister Miranda works at the same firm in the finance department. And here's the luxury of a huge black, gleaming car with a light-colored leather interior. Not a speck of dust inside. And everything looks so solid and expensive. She shoved her legs up and down indignantly, hiding her boat shoes. The car moved almost silently. It seemed to fly. Camille settled herself comfortably in her chair and regarded Stephen's profile. Handsome as Apollo, rich with good manners. Lucky for his wife. She didn't know at the time that he was single. A widower, actually. His wife drowned while diving in the Seychelles. But Camille didn't know any of that yet. She just wanted to be useful to her boss. With my first paycheck, I'll buy some decent shoes. She loved good shoes. But before she joined this firm, she didn't earn much. So shoe purchases were very rare. But every purchase she rejoiced like a child. When they arrived at the bank, Stephen got out of the car and opened the door in front of her. She was surprised by his manners, but did not show it and tried to get out of the car as carefully as possible. But there was a drain grate near the door, and the heel of the boat got caught in the holes and stuck. Camille tried in vain to free her foot, but nothing worked. She had to remove the shoe and pull it out with her hands. Stephen noticed that the assistant hesitated and helped to pull the shoe out of the grate, but the heel was in terrible shape and also broken. "Let's go to the store and get a new pair." The boss said it in a tone that did not tolerate objections. He got into the driver's seat, asked Camille to buckle up, and they drove to the store. Naive Camille thought they were going to Gum or something like that, but the boss took her to a shoe boutique. Oh, the horror. The boss opened the car doors in front of her again and helped her out. She walked, leaning on his arm. As Camille stepped into all this splendor, she squirmed. Here and there on the shelves were shoes, her dreams. It smelled of leather and luxury. The girl sat down on the padded path, unable to say a word, and stared at her boss. Stephen beckoned to a consultant and asked for shoes to be sized. Several pairs were brought in, and all were gorgeous. Camille chose a light brown pair and asked for the price. The girl assumed the price would be high, but not that high. It was her monthly salary. Camille almost cried. "Stephen, I can't afford such expensive shoes." "Don't worry about that. I'll pay for everything, since I parked badly and you lost your shoes. But I can't accept such an expensive gift." "All right, let's make it an installment plan. You'll pay a little from each paycheck." "I agree. That's fine with me." "Then be afraid. I've already paid, and we have to get back to the bank before it closes. There's that smell again. What's her perfume? I don't recognize it. It's unfamiliar to me. We'll have to find out." Stephen opened the door for Camille, and they went outside. After the shoe store, they went back to the bank. The shoes on Camille's feet were not weighty, and that feeling filled her with calmness. "Of course, I'll pay everything off, and I don't need a handout from my paycheck," thought the girl to herself. At the bank, Stephen knew everything. He smiled. They were very nice to each other. "Meet my employee, Camille. She'll often bring documents to the bank. Please love her." The bank employees left Camille with condescending glances from head to toe. But seeing the expensive shoes on the girl's feet, they decided that she held a high position in the bank. The boss took Camille to all the offices, introduced her to all sorts of bank clerks up to and including the manager. "Now do you know who does what in the bank? And who to contact? I'm going on a business trip soon, so you'll have to go to the bank a lot." "Okay, I get it." When we arrived at the firm, we went to our offices and didn't see each other again for the rest of the day. The boss had gone on a business trip, as promised. Camille traveled to the bank, doing an errand for the chief accountant. The new job was gradually taking her over. She was learning more and more intricacies. Who was responsible for what? The rules of the firm. For example, she learned that the boss hates it when he is lied to and without regret to part with such an employee, even if it is a relative. The week flew by. On the weekend, Camille helped her parents to the stores. "Hi, The neighbor kid came into the store. I heard you got a great job. Can you lend me some money or I'm screwed? What happened and how much do you need for $1,000? I lost it at cards. Are you crazy? Where did I get that kind of money? Well, borrow it. I just got a job and I don't know anyone there. And people I know won't give it to me. They're all in debt themselves. How can you get by on your own? Well, personally, I'm screwed if I don't find the money in 3 days and they hurt my sister. You love Nastya, don't you? I'll try to talk to someone I know, but only for the sake of it. Dad, I'll be right there. Keep an eye on the store. She left the store and walked up the street. In one of the houses lives a local money grubber who always has money. But at what interest rate he would give it to her. She had no idea Robert. That was his name. She met him at the gate of the house. He was just opening it to leave. Outside the gate stood a brand new white Lexus and a black and white Mini Cooper, his wives visible under the awning. Camille, what are you doing here? Hey, Robert. How are you? I'm doing great. You know what need brought you to me, right? Robert, I really need to borrow $1,000. Wow. What do you need that kind of money for? Can you lend it to me? Sure. For how long and at what interest rate? 6 months at 25% is a lot. If you don't want it, don't take it. That's my deal, period. Robert turned his back and went to the car. Okay, I'll do it. Wait, 5 minutes. I'll get the money and a pen and paper. I'm not some punk. Robert went into the house, but by then he was gone. Camille was frantically figuring out where she would get $1,250 in 6 months. The neighbor kid had sworn he'd give it to her, but in case it didn't work out. But it was done. Robert came out of the house, carrying a folder in his hands, gestured for her to get in the car, took out a wad of hundreds in bank tape and a piece of paper with a pen. Right. Camille had mixed feelings. On the one hand, she was doing a good deed by helping her neighbor. On the other hand, she was inevitably falling into a financial abyss from which she did not yet know the way out. I'll think of something, she assured herself, and walked to the neighbor's house. He met her joyfully and thanked her for a long time. I will give everything, every penny I got. Let's settle our problems first and don't get into this kind of trouble again. Otherwise, don't come to me again. The next morning, Camille arrived at the office half an hour earlier than the others. She busied herself sorting out the stacks on her desk. She got up, walked over to the cabinet, picked up the right folder, and with a deft movement placed the document in its proper place. Turning back to her desk, she felt she was being watched. Turning around, she saw Stephen. Are you an early bird? Camille, he smiled. Make some coffee. If you wouldn't mind, please, and come in my room, because no one's here yet. Like a boy, he shifted from foot to foot, smiling embarrassedly. All right, Stephen. Do you know how to operate a coffee machine? I have a rough idea, yeah. What kind of coffee do you like? Double espresso. Please wait. I'll get it. Okay, I'll go to my room then. Camille walked over to the coffee machine and froze. The huge, shiny machine looked at her and seemed to be chuckling evilly. Where's your button? Tell me. She walked around the machine on all sides, checking to see if it was plugged in. Now, which button should I press? Oh, bummer. Press the button with the little cup. A voice came from behind. The boss was smiling. Now this one here, you choose the strength. And then this one to select the volume of the drink. Now I get it. I always wondered why there were so many buttons. When the coffee machine produced the last shot of a huge espresso with the backrest, the boss reached over and took the cup. If you won't make your own coffee, come to my place. If you do, I'll wait. Thank you. I've already had coffee. Then let's go. It's going to get hectic soon. I'd like to talk to you. I wonder what he has to say that's so important. Camille was puzzled. Maybe the boss just wanted to give her another assignment. She walked ahead of the boss with a cup of coffee in her hand. He sighed at her aroma and wanted to savor it endlessly. but he was very curious about what kind of person preferred such an exquisite flavor. He asked her about her family, how her childhood had been, her hobbies. Camille spoke. Stephen listened attentively to hear behind the words he could perfectly well, and he heard that the girl had a sensitive and noble heart. There was a noise outside the door. The workday was starting. Coffee was running. The machine was buzzing. Computers were running. Phones were ringing. Camille, thank you for your candor. If you need anything, feel free to ask. She walked out, and he closed his eyes for a few moments, breathing in her scent. What was this obsession? He stood up and walked out of the office. The office space was open with partitions. The superior's offices had glass walls, so any employee, including Camille, was visible. There was a creative atmosphere in the team. Employees went from desk to desk, helping each other. The firm was in the business of creating commercials. Camille came as an accountant, but she really wanted to be an artist and a scriptwriter. She saw her colleagues' work and was fascinated by it. The girl kept a diary and made sketches in it. Her sister thought her drawings were excellent, but Camille always found a flaw. One day during her lunch break, Camille was drawing. She was so engrossed that she didn't notice her boss looking at her. He came up to her, asked for the drawing, and took a good look at it. Camille, you would make a wonderful children's book illustrator. We're in the middle of a project with a major publisher. They're launching a children's series, and they need illustrations. Can you do it? Yes, of course. She almost jumped to the ceiling with joy, but she held back in time. But what about accounting? As of today, you're working in the art studio. Go to Evelyn, and she'll show you around. But the accountants are illustrators. Camille, you are a multifaceted talent. She chuckled inwardly. Babe, I totally understand, but you have to turn in your files. Emily liked order, so during work hours, you get things done. And after work, you draw all you want. I really want to be an illustrator, so I'll try to finish everything quickly. Camille began to put her documents in order with triple force. She was already anticipating a series of drawings for children's books. The images of the characters were not bad, but there were a lot of documents, and she spent until late in the evening. She was very tired, and when she passed the guard, she barely had the strength to say goodbye. In the evening, the phone rang. It was the boss. Camille, you weren't at sketching today. Emily wouldn't let me go. I'll ask you to be at the workplace early tomorrow. I want to show you something. His voice sounded hypnotic, and by the end of the conversation, the girl was almost asleep. You're listening to me. I'm sorry, I'm very tired. You already knew that I would like to invite you to dinner at a Georgian restaurant. It's been a long time since I've been there, but I remember the food is excellent. I'd love to. Then I'll pick you up at 8 o'clock, so send me the address. Okay, I'll be waiting. Daughter, where are you going at night? Mom came out of the kitchen with a towel in her hands. A friend invited me for a walk. Just not for long, please. Daddy and I will be worried. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Camille pulled out her favorite jeans and a gray blouse from the closet. She put on her new shoes, brushed her hair, and was ready. By nature, the girl had a bright appearance and hardly used cosmetics. Lip pencil, eyebrow marker, and of course, her favorite perfume. The boss's car stood near the entrance at 8 o'clock sharp. Neighbors, looking out of the windows in surprise, they had never seen such an expensive car in their neighborhood. And to whom did such a beau arrive? Camille quickly ran out of the house and ran into the car. Sitting down, on the chair she jumped her head. What's the rush? Are you being chased? Stephen smiled ironically. No, an evening jog. In fact, everyone here has known each other since childhood. And they're already talking about me. Let them say it won't be a boring evening. I'm sure it will be. The Georgian restaurant was a one-story house with ticket walls, located in the middle of a patch of forest, enclosed by a stone fence. The paths were paved with stone. There were arbors on the territory fenced by Pletnev. All the furniture was dark wooden. They were met by a Georgian woman dressed in Georgian national costume. She led them into the hall and indicated their table. Soon she brought menus and wooden covers. Everything around was decorated with everyday elements of Georgian homes. Only shashlik, chachapuri, and karko were familiar names in the menu. And karko was a hearty beef. Other dishes remained a mystery behind 7 seals. What will you have? I'd like kakapuri. I haven't had kakapuri in 100 years. Well, shall I have it? Bring 2 glasses of the finest red wine. Stephen was clearly in a good mood. Camille, I'd like to tell you about our new project with Sigma Publishing. They publish a large series of children's fairy tales and stories with a strong emphasis on illustrations. I met their representatives at the exhibition, showed them your drawing, and they were very interested. It's a long-term project, and if we get it, it means that there will be both work and salary. You won't be drawing alone. Don't be frightened. How your ardor hasn't disappeared. No, but I'm very worried. Will I be able to cope with such a volume? I'd like to meet the deadline. An important parameter of the book is the number of illustrations. Who thinks about it? Publishers and artists and proofreaders. I think I'll meet it. But it seems to me that what we expect from children is hardly understandable to them. You'll manage, I'm sure. Now let's just appreciate the kitchen. Oh, this is divine. I haven't had kakapuri in a long time. When I was a child, my parents and I vacationed in a sanatorium in Ajara, and there we tried kakapuri. But it was a Jarian with an egg inside. But this Mingrillian one is a delight. Lots of cheese, like I like. What else do you like, Camille? Stephen looked at her intently. I like mussels, herbs, various vegetables, beef Burgundy. Anything well cooked is like special milk. Not a bad choice. Mussels will definitely not do here. And the beef will be Georgian. Would you like some? No, I'm full. I want to show you what stories are planned for the series. The publishers gave me a look. He opened the tablet and began to show and tell. He liked the way she listened attentively. He liked to breathe in her scent. He would have sat there forever, but time was inexorable. And now it was time to leave. Stephen paid the bill, and they went out into the street dimly lit by streetlights. Night shrouded the city. Thank you for the evening, Camille. I hope you have some ideas for drawings. Yes, many. That's wonderful. Throw out your sketches. You can show them tomorrow at the meeting. They drove through the city at night, along the seashore. In the distance, they could see the lights of ships in the bay. Stephen stopped the car at the waterfront. This is my favorite place. Come on, I'll show you. It's interesting. My favorite place is here too. They got out of the car and walked to the seashore. There are big boulders on the Crimean coast. One of them was huge and flat you could sit on. I come here when I want to be alone. I am also at home with my parents and older sister. Sometimes there is no opportunity for privacy. They were quiet. It was nice to be silent together. Stephen felt lighthearted and happy. He drove her to the front porch. Camille said goodbye and quickly jumped out of the car. Still on the way, they had agreed that he would not stay long and would drive away. But Mom was awake and staring out the window. When she saw the expensive car and the elegant man inside, she was stunned. She should talk to her daughter. She is still inexperienced. She might be tricked and have her heart broken. Camille quickly went up to her room. Their house was a 2-story house with the sisters' bedrooms on the 2nd floor. Opening the door, she saw her mom inside. Her heart jumped because Mom's look did not bode well. With a look, Mom pointed and sat down herself. Camille, with a drinking heart, sank down beside her. Who's that giving you a ride? Mom, that's my boss. Our meeting was for work. I've been hired as an illustrator for a very important project. Daughter, you know that. Daddy and I are very fond of you and Miranda. Mom, what are you getting at? I've lived my life, and I don't want anyone to break your heart. Mom, I'm just an employee to him. He likes my drawings, and he's worried about the project. If we get this project, we'll have money for at least a year. Everyone will get paid, and the firm's reputation will be enhanced. I know you're a very responsible employee. Lenashka, take care of yourself. Please don't trust empty promises. Look at your actions. Okay, Mommy, I'm very tired. Can I go to bed now? Sure. Sweet Mommy went out and closed the door. Camille took out her diary and described in detail the previous evening and all the feelings she had. Then she thought about it and drew the beach of the sea and two people sitting side by side, and above them the moon, which was very much like two hearts together. In the morning, the girl woke up with the sunrise, opened the window and smiled. The day promised to be beautiful. Quickly, got ready and had a hasty breakfast. She ran to work with anticipation of what was to happen to her in the coming days. She felt dizzy. She had a lot to do, but her heart felt light. The sun was already shining outside. The girl looked up at the road that led to the office where she worked. She smiled again and added a step. She felt light and happy. She did not notice how she was at the place of work. The girl went to her desk, put her bag down, then walked over and poured cold water into a glass. Putting the glass on the table, Camille sat down on the chair and looked at the folder. Lying on the table, the folder was information about Syria, in the margins of which there were a few corrections. Camille liked this style of writing very much. In general, though, many editors had a particular sense of humor that made them stand out, and she liked that. In general, there were no concepts that Camille did not like. Even the ones she was surprised by, she could use to do something in her life. And when things were really bad, she would wake up and laugh. Funny or sad, it didn't matter. What mattered was that she made others laugh. But that wasn't working today. She poured herself some more water and drank from the glass. There was no one in the office yet except her and the boss. He made his own coffee and looked through the folders. The girl was discreetly watching her boss, but he went to the shelf with folders, took out another one and opened it, took a pen and started writing. He thought about it for a second, started to write more, and suddenly he stopped, as if he remembered something very important. He stared at the ceiling and looked at the folder again. He thought again, and this time he took up the pen with determination. Camille began to look through the publisher's requirements for illustrations. She ran her eyes over the descriptions of the characters and the plot, and one by one the images appeared in her head. She took a sheet of paper and a pencil and began to draw. She drew without taking her eyes off and without paying attention to anyone. Sheet after sheet was filled with drawings. She kept drawing. She didn't notice when her boss came over and took one of the drawings from the table. "You're doing an excellent job. Thank you. That's not all. I plan to do 5 more drawings. Okay, I'll leave you to it. When you're done, come into my office." There was another task in Camille's mind. One by one, images were created and put to paper. As she prepared a series of drawings, her colleagues whispered behind her back. They wondered why such an important order was entrusted to a new employee, especially since she had worked in the accounting department only the day before, clearly a prodigy of the boss. Camille put all the drawings together and went to the boss. He was looking at some important papers, some signed. "Is there something you wanted me to do?" Did he raise his head? "Yes, I'd like to ask you to go and choose from an artistic point of view a place for shooting our new advertising project." "Okay, I'll just get my purse. Who am I going with?" "Me?" "In 10 minutes, you'll come downstairs and go to the car." The car was parked outside the office. Camille left the building and walked to the car. It didn't seem so intimidating today, but it was still from another world, a world of the rich that she was not a part of. Stephen put on his jacket, picked up his camera, and entered the elevator. The elevator quickly went silent. His office was on the 11th floor of a skyscraper. The firm occupied 3 floors. Artists, editors, proofreaders, reporters, accountants, financiers. The team was a large location. The location for the shoot was in a different neighborhood, and the drive was about half an hour. Camille tried with all her might not to look at her boss. She could not allow herself to develop feelings for him. but at the same time she wanted to. Last night she had the feeling that she had known this man all her life. It was so easy and simple for her to communicate with him. Have you finished your sketches? Yes, I have. There'll be another assignment. Yeah, they're sending over the rest of the series today. By the time we get back, I hope it'll be on my desk. The location for the shoot was an abandoned building in a large warehouse. The walls were bricks, windows on one wall the full height of the building. It was very bright inside. What do you think of the place? Stephen spread his hands apart. Our client wants us to shoot a commercial in a place like this. What do you think, Camille? I'm looking at their script. Yeah, it's a perfect location for their theme. You can place the pogroms over their girls in blue overalls and helmets, in special uniforms driving and near the pogroms. They discussed the script and the set laughing. Then Stephen offered to do some shots where she is in the background of the loader. Camille, laughing, agreed. Stephen was a professional photographer. He shot for famous geographical magazines, chasing shots in jungles, deserts, and bathtubs. Climbed to the tops of mountains. He was in love with photography with his camera. When the shoot was over, she suddenly realized that she had fallen in love without a second thought with this man. She liked everything about him. The way he spoke, the tone of voice, the gestures. When Camille realized this, she was frightened. What would happen now? We can't be together. I'm no match for him. He's in high places, and I'm just a clerk in a firm. She's got a twist. Let's go back to the office. I need to keep painting. Yeah, sure. We're a little late. I have to go to the bank myself. The bank has approved a loan for the firm. We'll be able to buy everything we need for the shoot and pay the contracted models. As soon as the car stopped outside the office, Camille jumped out of it and ran into the building. She ran into the elevator and quickly pressed the button. Once there, the girl sat down at her desk and started going through her drawings. I have to make sure he doesn't guess how I feel. He thinks he's God knows what. What are you working on? Her sister came over. This is the second series of children's fairy tales. There's a lot of characters, and they're all different. Look how funny they are. You're very good at drawing. You didn't go to art school for nothing. I thought you couldn't draw anything but a V-A-Z and an apple. As you can see, I can. Great. Do you want to have lunch? I ordered a salad delivery. I love the way this company makes them. Will you join me? No, thank you. I have to work. I'm on a deadline. Suit yourself. The sister went to her office. She was assistant CFO to her younger brother, Kevin, the principal. Their father had started the firm a long time ago and had run the business himself for years. But recently, the doctors had forbidden him to exert himself because of heart problems and recommended more rest. He bought himself tickets to faraway islands and went away for a few months at that time. Called Stephen as he knew he could rely on him. Kevin was soft-spoken and not decisive. Financials were good, but he wasn't very good with the staff. He was always at the mercy of his employees. Stephen was uncompromising. It was not easy to make him dance to his own tune. The boss solved all arising issues with his employees in his office and often held retreats, especially since in the summer, the entire firm went to the shooting. This time, he managed to rally his employees to get a major project with Sigma Publishing House. Photographers, artists, designers, illuminators, cinematographer, editors, proofreaders. Everyone shared a common motivation, and the work was boiling. Rick, why isn't the mock-up ready yet? Come to my meeting. And the new girl, what's her name? Get her. The voice of Wendy, the creative director, rang out. Yeah, sure. Can I get you some coffee? Hurry up and get it. And I'm already getting a headache. I'm on a deadline. Rick was in charge of suits and housekeeping. He was a short, stocky brunette with brown eyes. He made all his own clothes, and his style was interesting. Brightly colored shirt, suspenders, and tie. Everything was bright and eye-catching. But the tailoring was impeccable. He was carrying Wendy's coffee and noticed Camille. Hey, new girl. Wendy's calling a meeting. It's urgent, everybody. Drop it and get to it. What's the emergency? Where's the fire? Deadline's burning. We're running out of time. We'll have to stay on overtime. Why is it so urgent? They didn't get the layout back from the print shop in time. There was no electricity. That's why it got pushed back. At Wendy's, the whole department was gathered around the long table, 10 people, talking and talking. I wanted to remind you all that the deadline for the first part of the project is in a week. Otherwise, we don't get paid. Wendy tapped her fingers nervously on the table. The publisher wants to see the finished layouts and illustrations. Hey, how's the new girl doing? Tell me what you did. My name is Camille, the girl said quietly. I'm not interested in your name. I'm interested in the work. I have some drawings left. Bring them to me tomorrow. I may not be able to do it by tomorrow. That's your problem. Go draw. I've said everything. Wendy stood up and defiantly slammed the folder shut. All the other employees also stood up and went to their seats. The work continued. Camille finished the last drawing, and when she looked up, she saw that the office was empty. Only the lights were on in Wendy and Stephen's office. Wendy was in his and was saying something excitedly. She was pacing around the office and waving her arms around. He was calmly talking to her about something. She came out, already calmed down, and saw Camille. She was on her way out. What's up? Where do you want to go? Let's go under the visa. Thanks to me. Don't go far. Wendy had a red and small Nissan Micra. The car sped out of the parking lot. No offense to me. I've been with this firm for 15 years. Stephen and Kevin started a lot with my father. There's been a lot of projects through the firm since then. There have been successes and failures, but I've always said to myself and others, do you have everything you need to win inside? I went and did it. I don't take offense. I'm interested in learning everything. I admire your perseverance and organization. Stop at the beginning of the street, please. The car stopped. Camille got out and walked to her parents' store. Inside was Mom and a customer. Where's Dad? He went to get groceries. Daughter, you're late today. I have a lot of work to do. I'm going to rest. Go on, daughter. I'll be back soon. I'll close up early today. Bye, Mommy. Camille went up the street and saw Robert. She felt uneasy. She remembered she owed him a lot of money. Hi. How are you? Hi, Robert. I'm fine. I remember the debt. Come on. It's gonna be okay. At home, Camille didn't eat dinner. She just drank some compote. She went upstairs, locked herself in her room. She put on her pajamas and took out her diary. I saw it today. I can't stop thinking about him. It's crazy, but I can't stop thinking about him either. And I see him a lot at work, but whatever happens, the drawings turned out well. Everyone really liked them. And most importantly, I enjoyed each one as a gift. I guess that's my calling. She fell asleep quickly, barely having time to stuff the diary under her pillow. She had a wonderful dream. She was walking with Stephen by the hand down an alley with cherry blossoms. It was sunset, and the trees exuded a subtle fragrance. She was happy and laughing. The girl woke up as always with the first rays of the sun. She opened the window outside. A new day was beginning. Birds were singing and the trees were sewing about something of their own style. She tittied herself up, went downstairs, had a quick breakfast, and left the house. The drive to the office did not tire her, but on the contrary, gave her even more energy. At the office, Camille again arrived before all her colleagues. For this, she was nicknamed Early Mashka. She liked to be alone in the office. She could sit down and meditate on her drawings. But this time, she was not alone in the office. The boss was already sitting at his desk and was looking at something on his laptop screen. I didn't notice Camille. She couldn't take her eyes off him. But when she realized it, she started sketching. Now Camille was absorbed and didn't notice her boss looking at her. He stood up and left the office. Camille, good morning. She almost jumped in surprise. Good morning. You scared me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Make us some coffee and come in. I have some new information. I'll do it. The girl walked over to the coffee machine, confidently pressed the buttons, waited until it cleared and pressed the express button twice. Carrying 2 cups in her hands, she walked toward the boss's office. Suddenly, she realized she couldn't open the door. Her hands were full. She fiddled with the door for a long time until the boss noticed her and opened it. Put it over here. Sit next to me. I'll show you something interesting. What is it? It's a release plan from another publisher. They do art calendars. I think you'll like them. One of them is ready. It came this morning. There's a year on the first page and some words on the second. There's no pages, so we can't flip through it. Now on to the next one. On the release of a new calendar we agreed long ago. There are 2 variants of images on them, photos and drawings. A series of drawings should schematically depict women in national costumes. The background can be anything: trees, mountains, and seas. A series of pictures of models will definitely be taken by our photographers. Everyone knows how to do it, so there won't be any problems. We've already agreed on the first part with the publisher. All that remains is to come up with a title and a name. How do you feel about the concept of images and signs? And why? How about dancing women? Can you think of any captions? They discuss the project, but Camille is overwhelmed by the joy of having him around. She could look at him and talk to him and feel him, but she was careful to hide those feelings from him, and above all, from herself. What's the big deal? We're just socializing, and I like my job, so we're happy. And with the boss, we are on the same wavelength. That's why everything is so good, persuaded herself Camille. Wendy walked into the office and stopped like a stumbling block. There was something between those 2. She felt the vibe of love. She herself had been secretly and long ago in love with Stephen. But he didn't reciprocate. She had tried long and unsuccessfully to attract his attention, but in vain. He was cold and polite. He only talked to her about work. And even if she did manage to get him out to a cafe, it was just a meeting between boss and employee. So what Wendy saw and felt, she didn't like. But as a professional, she didn't let it show and got straight to the point. Stephen, the publishers are here and waiting in the conference room. Okay, I'm on my way. Camille, do you understand what's expected of you? Yes, I do. I'm going to go implement the ideas. Good luck. Stephen and Wendy left the office and went straight to the conference room. Camille gathered up her sketches and went to her desk. She saw Rick and the female coworkers discussing something animatedly. When they saw her, they stopped talking and went to their seats. Looking at her in surprise, she finished the previous project and put the drawings in a folder and took them to the designers. They would contact the customer and design the layout of the book. The new project excited her. She opened her laptop and began looking at various photos of women in national costumes. Making sketches and captions, made almost all the sketches she needed. And she wanted a drink of water. Went to the galley and inadvertently overheard a snippet of conversation between female employees. You saw that she's always in his office, that she's the most important employee. What is there to talk about for hours? I don't get it either. Maybe he's got his eye on her before you look at her, and she dresses very poorly, although she's already received more than one paycheck. I also think that someone like Stephen wouldn't pay attention to such a thing. When they saw Camille, they stopped talking, took their coffee cups and went to their desks. She sat down on her desk and continued sketching to make signatures. In the evening, she wanted to go with her girlfriend and model to a cafe by the sea. It was their favorite cafe, and the view from there was amazing. They would take floral tea and their favorite cakes and talk about everything that had happened during the time they hadn't seen each other. Camille, would you mind coming over to my place? Stephen was standing not far from her. Yes, of course. Take the sketches. Actually, the sketches weren't the reason he'd called her in at all. He just needed to feel her near him, to smell her. Am I in love? This girl is driving me crazy. She walked in holding a folder of her sketches. He gestured her to the chair beside him and offered her a coffee. "Thank you. I don't drink coffee in the evening." "Then make yourself some tea, coffee. We're going to have to do some work. The clients insist on finishing the work soon." "Okay." As she stood by the coffee machine, she could see the female employees casting scornful glances at her as she left. But she had no desire to confess. What happened, and why were they treating her like that? In her life, she had adhered to the principle of not paying attention to other people's opinions, and now she deeply did not care about it. As she entered the office, she heard her boss on the phone with her father. "Daddy's got everything under control. Don't worry, we're on schedule. It's going strong. There's enough money for everything. We're getting by. We'll start paying off the loan in 10 months. Have fun. Don't worry, Kevin. He's all right. He's a competent financier. Nancy, I haven't seen her in a while. I don't know what's going on. She hasn't been in touch. She's probably off in her Savannah bathtub again. Okay, Dad, I can't talk. I've got work to do. Camille, put the cups here and sit down. We'll see what we can do." They discussed the drawings and lettering, twirled them around and tried them on for the calendar design. When Stephen accidentally touched her hand, she flared and pulled away, and he tried to be as close as possible, to inhale her scent and feel the warmth of her body. "Stephen, I wish I could go already. I have a friend waiting for me. Are you going out?" "Yes, we're going to our favorite cafe by the sea tonight. We meet there once every 2 months and have long talks about everything." "How interesting. I don't have a friend like that." "You're lucky, aren't you? She's cool. We've been friends since we were kids. Her brother's asking me to marry her." That's how he felt the slight prick in his heart. "Yeah, but I can't treat him like a man. He's still my playmate, my childhood boy." "Okay, Camille, you can go." She gathered the drawings into a folder, got up from her chair, and left the office. The plume of her fragrance, which he loved so much, remained in the office. An unpleasant feeling appeared in Stephen's soul. So she has a fiancé. If her parents persist, she'll marry him. So stop. What rights do I have to her? I have none. But I can't give her to someone else either. A sense of competition kicked in. Stephen closed his laptop, put the file folders on the shelf, grabbed his car keys, and headed for the exit. He needed to get to practice. 3 times a week he went to the gym at a large sports complex. There was also a swimming pool, table tennis, and aerobics rooms. There were also gyms for children, where parents with babies and older children came. A friend of his worked there. They went to high school together. "Stephen, it's okay." The guard was staring at him. "Why do you ask? Do you look like someone died?" "No, I'm fine. Thank you. It's just been a rough day." In fact, the old Stephen had died inside him, and he didn't know what to do with his feelings yet. It'll work itself out. How many times have I fallen in love like this, unrequited? Stephen comforted himself. "Vanessa." "Hi, Jenna," walking towards me with open arms. "Hi, Jenna. How great is it to see you again? Come on. I've already booked a table now. We'll order some delicious tea and you'll tell me everything, all your new job." They went into the cafe, sat down at a table. The sun was starting to set. The view was amazing. Ships stood in the bay in the distance. Sailing ships were breaking the waves. Seagulls alighted over the sea. "Here's your tea and cakes." The waiter smiled welcomingly and placed the treats in front of the girls. "Maybe a bottle of wine." They brought us some absolutely stunning new Harvest rose wine. It's weak, but very flavorful. What do you think? Let's try this wine. You're not in any rush. No. All right. Bring your wine. It's been a good night. By God, not yet. Camille laughed. Come on, tell me. I'm excited. You remember, I applied for a job there as an accountant. Well, now I'm an illustrator there. Oh yeah. How did you change careers? I'm asking. No, I'm demanding details, and I'm not leaving here until you tell me. Come on, I'll tell you everything. The wine is really flavorful. And there's a rose on the label. And it's interesting. It's a wine from Bulgaria, it says here. I'm gonna have to take a note of that. It's good to have a bottle of it at home. So Camille started the story. I got a job there as an accountant. You remember how long it took me to find a job, don't you? Yeah, it was epic. When I got hired at that firm, I couldn't get over my surprise. It's a top 10 firm in the market for salaries, and I got hired. Lucky you. Yes, said Jenna. Lucky. That's lucky. But what you don't know is that John asked me to borrow $1,000 from Robert. He's in some kind of gambling trouble. And you know these guys don't like to joke around, Camille said. So you took it? Asked Jenna. You're crazy. How are you gonna give it back? Do you know what percentages Robert's turning at all? Yeah, he gave me 25% on the 1,000. You're definitely crazy, said Jenna. How are you going to give back? John doesn't work anywhere, just plays poker. That's not what you're worried about right now. Boss saw some drawings I was doing on my lunch break. Asked me to do illustrations for children's fairy tales. The publisher is just launching a series of books, and they need illustrations. They contacted our firm. I did it. And the most important thing is that I like it. I like to think up and realize new images. I forget everything when I'm drawing. That's what I mean. You're talented. I've never doubted you. Congratulations. Way to go. So they sat talking about everything until it got dark. And the moon appeared in the sky with stars from the moon. There was a silver path on the sea. There was something mesmerizing about that picture. Jenna, it was good to see you. I have to go now. My mom worries when I come home late. We're not kids anymore. We're working grown-up girls. I don't want to upset her anyway. She already had a heart attack, and she laid down for a couple days and got back behind the counter at the store. Daddy, of course, was filling in for her and forbidding her to work. But you know Mom, if she has her mind made up, she'll get her way. Lisa, I know and remember very well how she played us when we got into the neighbor's garden. I remember it very well, and it still makes my ears burn. That's why, so as not to bother my mom, I'm going home now. The friends said goodbye and went their separate ways. Jenna went to the city, and Camille decided to walk along the seashore. She walked along thinking how nice it was to have such a friend. Not everyone was as lucky as she was. John has no friends, only companions, and they disappear from sight. When is he in trouble? Camille walked and listened to the waves crashing against the rocks. Her secret hideout was not far away, and she decided to go there for a while to get her thoughts in order. She was already making her way to her rock when suddenly she saw a male figure. The man was sitting on her rock and didn't move. And who is this interesting person occupying my favorite stone? Impudent invader. I'll show him. Camille was determined to drive the unwelcome guests from their hiding place. Stephen left the office, got into his car, and without noticing, found himself on the quay. He remembered the secret stone that Camille liked to come there, secretly hoping to meet her there. He put the car in the distance and climbed up on the rocks. There was no one there. The place was deserted. He made his way to the rock itself, sat on it, and stared into the distance. The sun was setting in the sea, saying goodbye to the day gone by. The lights on the ships were burning. The sea seemed to be studded with stars from below. It was getting dark quickly, and a path crept up from the moon. Stephen loved very much to watch it grow wider, how the sea rippled in that silver path. He sat for a long time, remembering how he and his father had fished at night from a similar rock from the pier. He still remembered that time with warmth. Ah, if only it were possible to go back there. But he was a grown man now. He has responsibility for the firm and the employees, and his father is still waiting for him to marry a second time and give him grandchildren. It didn't work out with his first wife. She was into scuba diving. Said they'd have time. They didn't. Didn't happen. Camille came closer and recognized Stephen. He seemed so lonely. She wanted to come closer and put her hands on his shoulders. She restrained herself with an effort. "Stephen, what are you doing here?" "Camille, I thought you'd be home by now. Are you having your 10th dream?" "What do you mean?" "No, I'm awake. The stone is guarding me." She laughed. "Pardon the intrusion, but my feet brought me here. Besides, it's got a great view of the bay. I've been sitting here admiring it. Have a seat. There's plenty of room for you. I'm not gonna say hi to my mom for a while." "What's wrong with Mom?" "She just had a heart attack. Can't be disturbed. I already called that I'm coming. Let me give you a ride. I was just on my way back." "If that's the case, I'll let you." She sat down next to him on a rock. "I can look at the moon and the sea forever. It feels like flying far away." Camille gazed dreamily into the distance. When she turned her head, she saw Stephen looking at her strangely. What was the matter with him? But he drew her head to him and kissed her. She felt dizzy. Her heart pounded frantically inside. Camille pushed him away and jumped up on the rock. "Camille, I'm sorry, but I really like you. I couldn't help myself. I promise it won't happen again." She stood there in confusion, not wanting to calm down. Inside she was jubilant with joy. He likes me. But a worm of doubt reared its head. You think you're something. He's got hundreds like you. He'll break your heart. Fool. She climbed over the boulders and strode determinedly toward the house. Camille, wait, I didn't give you a ride. Don't bother with Stephen. I'll walk home just fine. Oh, stop it. I'm not a maniac. I promise I won't even look at you. I'm not so sure about that anymore. She continued to pick up the pace. Stephen pulled out into the driveway and ran to his parked car. He quickly opened the door, got in, started the engine and caught up with the library, opened the window and commanded, "Get in the car. I command you. In the evening, you have no right to order me, and I have, because I am still responsible for you and want my employee to get home safely and securely. Can you be persuasive?" She opened the back door and sat down. "That's better. There's a lot of crime on the street these days. Thank you very much. Camille, stop being clever. I'm really worried. How can you walk the streets alone? I've been doing it for years, and I know everyone here. You don't have to worry about me." They drove the rest of the way in silence. When the car stopped at the entrance, Camille got out of the car and thanked her boss dryly. He stood outside her house for a while and drove slowly back. All the way back, he berated himself for his impulse, but remembering her face and lips, he could not forget the joyful excitement, as if he had waited 1,000,000 years for that kiss. Driving the car under the awning, he sat on the terrace for a long time, looking out into the distance. He remembered his first teenage feeling. How worried he'd been when the girl he idolized started dating his friend. It was different with his first wife. She was like a magnet attracting all the people around her. He was no exception. They spent evenings together, went to exhibitions at the sea to the mountains. So, imperceptibly, this acquaintance turned into a short marriage. It lasted less than 2 years. She died because she ran out of air when they went through a cave. She gave her regulator to the water, which also ran out of air. She saved him, but she died. There had been a long search for the body of the climb. This he remembered vaguely because he was beyond grief. Then he began to go alone somewhere in a deserted place near the sea and sit there for a long time, listening to the sound of the waves, looking into the distance. "Daughter, have you come at last?" "Yes, Mommy, don't worry." We sat by the sea with a model. And then I met my boss, and he graciously offered me a ride home. I already told you not to make plans for him. It's not your circle of the rich. One today, one tomorrow, and your heart will be broken. I know, Mom. Don't worry. How are you feeling today? Better, daughter. It's time to go to bed. You have to get up early. Good night, Mommy. Good night, sweetie. Camille went up to her bedroom, changed into her pajamas, washed her face, and picked up her diary. There was something to write down today. He kissed me. Drawing a picture of 2 hearts together, she slammed the diary shut and put it in her desk drawer. She fell asleep quickly as soon as she put her head on the pillow. The dream was very pleasant and colorful, as if she and Stephen were sitting together, embraced on a wide swing, with birds singing and an orchestra playing a romantic melody in the distance. Stephen turns and asks, "Will you be my wife?" and holds out an open box containing a sparkling ring. At this point, she woke up. It was already morning, and she had overslept. "Camille, it's time to get up. Breakfast is on the table. I'm not hungry. I'll take a roll with me. I had breakfast at the office." She kissed her mom on the cheek and ran out of the house. "Camille, wait, I'm coming with you." Miranda ran down the stairs, dressed. She never had breakfast. She only drank tea. She drank a cup, put on her shoes, and followed Camille out. "Wait, where are you going? Do we have time? I'm used to coming to the office early. I can work in peace and quiet. By the way, I've been meaning to ask you about your new job. Do you regret leaving accounting?" "No, not at all. Turns out boring paperwork isn't really my thing. Although I did manage to do a little bit of everything. I really enjoy drawing. It's probably my calling." When they got to the office, no one was there yet. They were the first ones in. Not even the boss was there, though he usually came in early. It would be good not to be distracted. Camille sank into her drawings and looked up when she heard an unusual commotion. Standing near the door was a tall, slender blonde woman wearing shorts, a large sun top, safety glasses, and a beige Panama. She was holding a small tattered suitcase in her hand, a bag with an expensive camera hanging over her shoulder. "Nancy, where have you traveled?" "Nancy, tell us where you've been. We're all excited." "Stephen, not yet." "Nancy, let us make you some coffee." The staff are chattering, escorting Nancy into Stephen's office. "Who is this Nancy?" Camille asked Rick, who was making coffee. "Nancy is Stephen's girlfriend. They met when they did a photo project together for a geographical magazine. And she's a photographer, and a pretty famous one. Her photos are printed by many famous big magazines. She gets invited to modeling shoots. She travels all over the world. They don't see each other very often. Stephen became the head of the firm after his father left, and now he doesn't travel anywhere. He does local shoots for the firm." "How long have they known each other?" Is Camille's voice trembling? "Yeah, about 5 years. Dad sleeps with her. Stephen's wife thinks they're the perfect couple." Camille shuddered. What did she care, really? It's not like he's only asked her to be his wife in a dream. And that's a dream. She had no right to hope for anything. The girl sighed and went to her seat. Her drawings were almost finished, but she didn't feel like drawing anymore. She became sad. At that time, the phone rang. "Jenna, what are you doing?" "Girlfriend." "Working." "Why?" "I suggest we get together tonight. There's something to celebrate." "What is it?" "You'll find out later." "Surprise. I'll meet you at 7:30 at our place." "Okay, you wait." The boss came in, went into his office, and was surprised to see Nancy. She jumped up and kissed him on the cheek. "Hi, honey. Just passing through. Wanted to see you, and I was right to stop by. How's your project going?" "Did she shoot a lot of footage?" "Yeah, a lot of footage. Tonight I'll sort and select the magazine I already offered to buy." "Are you making any progress?" "I always knew you had a talent for this. I'm sorry I can't give you much time this morning. Deadlines are looming. Clients are cutting off phones. I'm on my way to a shoot. Can I come with you?" "Yeah, sure. I'd love to." "You got a deal. I just need to stop by the house, take a shower and change. I won't be long. Let me tell the driver to take you home. I'll pick you up later." "All right. I'll be waiting for you dressed or undressed. Whatever you say." She smiled meaningfully. He pretended not to hear, called the driver, and told him to take Nancy and her luggage home. "See you later, sweet." Camille saw Nancy as she left and kissed her boss again, putting her arms around his neck. The girl felt a painful prick of jealousy inside, but inwardly forbade herself to be jealous or to worry about it at all. She leaned over the drawings and began to carefully draw out the details. It's none of my business after all. Stephen escorted Lyra to the exit and returned to the study. After a few minutes, he came out and asked for the staff's attention. Colleagues, in a week's time, there will be an off-site photo shoot. I ask everyone involved to prepare. The rest of us can go and help out too. All questions are for Wendy, and she is in charge. With that, he left the office. He must have gone to Nancy's. Camille pictured Nancy in a light robe. Stephen opens the door, and they both tear off their clothes in a fit of passion. Blood led to her head. She was in pain. Do I really love him? That's no good. She had to get that crap out of her head. The workday was drawing to a close. Camille put the finishing touches on her drawings and put them in a folder. Wendy came up to her. Hey, what's your name? Are you coming with us to the shoot? You're gonna help with the costumes. I'm not a costume designer. You'll be fine. We should try everything. I'm counting on you. Okay, don't worry, Wendy. That's good. Because our costume designers are away on a shoot and they won't be here. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask Rick. Wendy's phone rang. What do you mean you can't provide for Kate? What do you mean it's all scheduled? I'm gonna complain to you. Well, what are we gonna do now? What's wrong? Camille decided to ask Wendy why she was so angry. Yeah. Well, Keith Goring's gone rogue. How am I supposed to feed this whole bunch of people? I could get my mom to cook. She used to cook for weddings and birthdays, and she's prepared for a lot of guests. My neighbor Christopher can help with the local food. He has his own butcher shop near us. Oh, that's great. Then I'll send some helpers over to your mom's house. Have her tell me what to buy and how much. We'll bring all the copies. Okay, when's the trip? A week from Monday. Got it. How many people and for how many days? 30 people. 3 meals for 2 days. Okay, I'll get it to my mom and she'll start putting together the menu. Thank you so much. Help came from an unexpected place. Not yet. Mom doesn't know what she's in for yet. Camille laughed out loud. After work, she called her mom and told her what was coming. Mom was scared at first, but then she pulled herself together and promised to help. After all, 30 people are not 100. Mom, I'm going out with the model again tonight. Don't worry. Okay, but don't take as long as the last time. I'll worry. I won't, I promise. Okay, daughter, rest, take a walk. Camille turned off the laptop, put all the drawings in a folder and headed for the exit. As she exited the elevator, she noticed her boss talking to a security guard. Camille, please wait. I need to talk to you and I don't need to. Why are you even standing here? You should be on your way to Nancy's. Camille, I was wondering if you'd finished your project yet. That's the only reason you stopped me. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Stephen was taken aback by the coldness that Camille gave off. What had happened? Or had her fiancé turned up? The mood was rapidly deteriorating. It became sad. He said goodbye to the guard and quickly left the office building. Vanessa, hurry up. I've already ordered tea. It's not very tasty cold. And what's the rush? What's the fire? Vanessa, you have no idea. I'm a psychologist, remember? Yes, of course. You graduated from university. Well, I'm a famous blogger now that Camille choked on his tea. Yes, I have my own blog and already have 1,000 subscribers and are even asking for paid counseling. Congratulations. How did you do it? I decided to share my knowledge. Every day I publish useful articles and surveys to find out what people are interested in. So people started following me. One person reposts another, the next person reposts the next, and so on. That's great. Psychology is your calling. I already told you that. Yes, I'm also learning Kolchenko. So I'll need the ring. What's that? It's when you ask your client open-ended questions that require a detailed answer. And when he seeks an answer, he finds a solution to his problem. Will you come to my coaching session? Yeah, sure. I'm your friend. You remember, right? But great. Then come to my place tomorrow night. and we'll talk. Okay, now I have to go. My mom said to come early. Yeah, I gotta go too. I'm gonna write a post. I haven't picked a topic yet. Okay, have fun. Camille walked quickly towards home. On the way, she saw John, for whom she'd borrowed Robert. He was walking drunk towards his house. When he saw Camille, he stopped and said, "Oh, Vanessa picture. I see you've got your love life back on track. A beau is giving you a ride home in a cool car. Is it none of your business when you think of giving money? What money? Have you forgotten? I borrowed $1,000 from Robert for you. I didn't ask for it. You didn't give me any money at all. How can you say that? You came to me, begged me tearfully, said that Stetka could hurt me. You? Or was it all untrue? Did you make it up? Where am I? Where's $1,000? It's okay. All the scrolls. But you're a bastard. I was trying to get you out of trouble, and you acted like a pig. I don't know anything. You took it from him. You deal with it." And on the whistle, like nothing happened, John walked on, staggering. Camille stood there stunned, unable to come to her senses. But how long can one be a fool? Let him deal with his own problems. Why didn't I call from the branch before I drove myself into bondage? Sveta, hi. It's Camille. Are you comfortable talking? Yes, Molly, hi. What's up? You see, a distraught John came into my store the other day and said he lost $1,000 and that you could get hurt. You don't listen to him anymore. He skipped out somewhere. What happened? Nothing. I trusted him and I went. It took more than $1,000 to save you. Are you serious? You're a fool, Vanessa. What money? John doesn't work anywhere, and he's not going to get a job. How will he give it to you? I'll talk to him, of course, and we'll think of something. But it's a lot of money for us right now. What an idiot. I've already realized that to myself. I'm not going to get involved with him again. Yeah, I'll try to talk to John. Come on, the kids are home from school. We have to feed them. Bye. Camille walked down her street in frustration. How could she get out of it? Inside, she felt bad. She went into the house, took off her shoes, and slipped silently into her room. I expressed everything to my diary again. The diary was her psychologist and friend to him. She could confide to her most intimate things that she could not even confide to Jenna. The next day began, as usual, with an early rise. Things were not as moneyless in the morning as they had been in the evening. I'm sure I'll think of something. I'm spinning, she convinced herself. Have a leisurely breakfast. She left the house. A new day was beginning. It was up to her to decide what it would be like. At the office, she was again earlier than everyone else, opened her laptop, and began to study the materials of the future series of books. A new project was coming up. It is necessary to know what the customer is waiting for. The order was very interesting. The series was about the relationship between a man and a woman. It consisted of different stories on different topics, where the main characters were women, where the main characters were men, and where both characters were the main ones. It was all about capturing the mood. She began to sketch quickly. She had a lot of black leaders of different thicknesses, and with them, she quickly drew in the technique of sketches, silhouettes, and landscape. After an hour, the ideas dried up. The staff were crowding around and hotly discussing something. We should take tents, and don't forget sleeping bags. The main thing is not to forget lighting equipment, cameras, water and food, warm clothes. Komarov discussed the upcoming field shoots. After a couple of days, it was already time to pack. She had completely forgotten that the strip had assigned her to take care of the costumes. She approached Rick and began to clarify. Rick, what kind of help will I need? Help. Wendy told me to come help you. I'll do it on my own. Wendy's always sticking her nose into things. Told you what to do. All right, come with me. We have to pick out and box up the clothes and shoes for the models. What did they send us yesterday? I'm all yours. They went to the back room where the costumes were kept. They were hanging on a rack, And you would have thought that the artists would come in, put them on, and go out to perform. The outfits were outlandish, some in bright colors, some layered. All this we have to sort and put into boxes, which then need to be signed and sealed. The truck's coming. Where are we gonna put it all? Let's get started. That's a lot of outfits. Aren't you right? Time flies fast. We can do this. It takes all day. They really did spend all day with the clothes. Camille was very tired and pleaded, let's at least take a break for 15 minutes. I want to go outside. Okay, 20 minutes. She quickly made herself a coffee and headed downstairs. It was sunny and windy outside, and she liked space and fresh air. Hence the mental space of dusty rooms with clothes. It knocked her out of her mind. She sighed slowly into herself at the gusts of wind and framed her face to the sun. It was her boss who caught her at this activity. He had just pulled up to the office and was about to leave. When he noticed Camille, he admired her movements and was fascinated by her childlike directness. He waited until she returned to the office and only then got out of the car. Where the hell are you? I said 20 minutes, not half an hour. Rick resented it. Yes, here I am, a breath of fresh air and coffee, and now I'm going to earn many more boxes. Obey and obey. Camille laughed. It's not funny. If you and I don't make it tonight, Wendy will take both of our heads off tomorrow, and without a head, my height will be quite small. They both laughed. Things moved faster, and within an hour they were done. The boxes were packed, signed, and taped. All that was left was to wait for the truck. The day of the shoot had arrived. The office was chaotic and hectic. Everyone was going somewhere, carrying something. There wasn't a single person sitting still. No, that was Kevin. He was going over the financial reports with her. It was quarter-end closing, and nothing was to be missed. Miranda, are you going out of town? Everyone's invited. Yeah, I'm going. My sister's coming too. She's gonna take care of the costumes. If you want, I'll drive you. I'll finish my report, and I'll drive my car. You can go home, pack up, and come to the office. Oh, thank you. That's very nice of you. We work together, and I think you deserve to be in comfort, not in a shared van. I could go with everyone else. It's fun. There will be plenty of fun. Believe me, I hope Wendy's got something in mind for us. I wonder. We'll come and see. Finally, the equipment, costumes, and cameras were loaded. The staff sat in rented vans with their bags. The cavalcade drove away from the office and, after raising a bunch of noise and dust, disappeared around the corner. The place for shooting was chosen on a hill, and tents and marquees were put on the seashore. We took out of the trucks the most necessary things. Work began. A minibus with models approached. Long-legged, thin girls with long hair, like twin sisters, came out of it. They walked like herons in long heels, swiveling their hips. Rick called Camille over to sort through the costumes. There were a lot of them. The models had to be dressed up for the first episode of the shoot. The photographers were setting up cameras, lights, spotlights. The director was arranging the models. The rehearsal was underway. Camille turned to look through a gap in the tent and saw Nancy approaching Stephen. She's here too. The mood that had been so good at the beginning was gone. That's fine. Well, don't. He's got his life, and I've got to have mine. I put my dress on the rack and walked out of the tent. Nancy didn't leave Stephen's side. She'd follow him around, take a seat next to him. If he sat down and flaunted herself like she was one of the models. She was wearing a silver dress and sandals to match. Everything looked appropriate and stylish, skillfully applied makeup, well-groomed hair and hands. What is not the dream of any bachelor? Camille was dressed in jeans and a windbreaker. No makeup. Yes, she hardly used any. The girl had a naturally striking appearance. If she needed makeup, it was just a little bit. Her parents' truck pulled up. Dad and Mom got out. Christopher the butcher was with them. They opened the back of the truck and started unloading boxes and bottles. It was the food that had arrived. The staff became animated. Everyone was very hungry for the outdoors and were looking forward to lunch. The first part of the shoot went well. Camille first between the location and the marquee with the clothes. She brought some dresses, took away others, and completely suffocated. Skinny models were changing clothes. In another tent, when there was a break, the girl saw her parents. "Daughter, come and help us. Where are the tables going to be?" Wendy said to the left of the location. "Okay, can you please help set the table?" "Sure, Mommy, don't worry." Together, they set up the long tables, set out the trays of food that had been put up at home beforehand. All that remained was to invite everyone to the dinner table. They ate lunch standing up, each taking their tray and eating here by the table or taking it to the tent. Camille took her tray and sat down on the grass nearby. Christopher was sitting beside her. He had long been unrequitedly in love with Miranda, and she was sitting next to Kevin, and they were having a lively discussion. Camille loved her mother's cooking. Today's lunch was dolma and salad, plus lots of cookies and buns, and homemade willow compote. She was looking at the sea and relaxing. Rick came up to her. "Stop relaxing. There's a lot of work to do. I'm going to have some compote too." The second part of the shoot went smoothly, with everything laid out and cleaned up. Camille went to her tent, which she shared with her. Collapsing exhausted, the girl fell asleep instantly. She woke up with a jolt. Miranda was pushing her to the side. "Get up," or the sides were already covered. Did I fall asleep? But a movie? Not team games. What kind of games? Did Wendy come up with something? The dinner was loud and fun. The lights were on. The evening was warm. Despite the forecast, mosquitoes were blown away by the wind, and it was quite comfortable. Everyone was joking and laughing, playing jokes on each other. And then Wendy took the floor. There will now be team games. There will be 2 teams and 5 tasks. The team that wins gets an honorary pennant and a day of extra rest. Each team will have 10 members. I'm looking forward to seeing who's interested. She quickly assembled 2 teams. Stephen, Nancy, and Camille were put into one team. There were various strength and balance challenges. Their team won. The last task was the hardest. They had to find the pennant in the woods and bring it back. It took 15 minutes. Everyone scattered through the forest, looking at every bush. Camille, used to walking along forest paths since childhood, was looking for hollow trees or burrows among the roots. Suddenly, she saw her favorite flower, which she used for her perfume. She crouched down and began to gather the inflorescence into her knapsack. Stephen approached her. He was surprised to see that the girl was collecting something. "Camille, what are you picking?" "I'm picking flowers for my perfume. I can make you your scent. For that, I need to know the person. I think I already know you a little bit." "That's interesting. Yes, I would very much like to have a perfume made by your hands. You can smell this flower." He leaned over and touched the girl's shoulder. Camille shuddered and said, "I am so unpleasant to you." "Rather the reverse. I like you. How can anyone not like you? How many women are hanging around you? What do you want from me?" The right thing to do would be to find out what you want. She tilted her head and didn't answer. There was a great desire to hug him and stay like that forever. But then Nancy's voice came. "Stephen, where are you?" "I'm coming." He looked at Camille and turned and walked toward Nancy's voice. "Let him go to her. She's his equal, not mine." She picked up her backpack and walked down the birch tree path. At eye level, the girl noticed something strange. Something long and yellow was tied to one of the branches. She reached out her hand, untied it from the branch, and it turned out to be a pennant. Their team had won the team competition. They would get an extra day off. They could go to the seas or the woods and have plenty of alone time. She took the pennant to Wendy, and she announced the winners. She only specified that the day off would be given when the project was finished. The whole team sighed in disappointment. Stephen was nowhere to be seen. Camille approached Rick and asked if her help was still needed. "No, Everything was already laid out. Tomorrow morning is not easy. Tomorrow is the second day of filming, very important. Okay, good night. When she arrived, Miranda was already in a sound sleep. Camille climbed into her sleeping bag and closed her eyes. Sleep was not coming. She got out of the tent and went to the sea. The sea was calm and serene. The lights of ships could be seen in the distance. She picked up pebbles and threw them into the water. There was a slight breeze. She sang a little, but she didn't feel like going to the shower tent. She heard footsteps behind her and turned around. Stephen was walking along the sea and heading towards her. Camille, aren't you afraid to go out alone? No, I'm a brave girl. May I walk here with you? Please, there's plenty of room. I want to walk with you. What about Nancy? Nancy went to the city for the night. She doesn't like the woods or mosquitoes. When she's working, though, she forgets everything. How long have you known her? 5 years. Nancy's just a friend. I have no feelings for her as a woman. I'm interested in you. I'd like to get to know you better. If I may. Stephen, I'm not your type. How can you be interested in me? Nancy is sophisticated and stylish. She's very knowledgeable. Anyone would like her. Camille, stop. She took a step and stood up. I want to tell you that I like simplicity and openness like yours. I never met a girl like you until you came to our farm. I'm flattered to hear you say that, but I don't forget for a second that you're a director and a rich man. I'm just a girl who lives with her parents and earns her own living. Let me tell you something. I fell in love with you at first sight, and my love grows stronger every day. But I don't know how you feel. You tell me. Stephen, let's use the first name. Okay, I like you. I like you so much I can't think of anyone else but you. That's true. He stepped closer and took her hands in his. Yes, she was distraught and didn't realize herself how those words had come out of her. I may be corny, but I'll say be my wife. Camille thought for a moment that this was one of her pleasant dreams. Kiss me. Camille put her arms around his neck. Stephen to her lips as if thirsty and reached the source. The girl trembled in his arms. Are you cold? No, I'm very nervous. So you never answered my proposal. So what's your affirmative answer? Yes, I accept. When I go to your parents right now and ask for your hand in marriage, they're asleep. When in the morning? Let's not tell anyone yet. Okay, it's just us and your parents. Stephen walked the girl to her tent and kissed her again. Camille climbed into the tent, pulled on her sleeping bag, but could not sleep for a long time. Is it really true? Did he propose to me? Did she tell him she loved him? And he said he loved me? No, it can't be, because it sounds like a fairy tale, and fairy tales are good to listen to as a child, not as an adult. I'll wake up in the morning and it'll be a dream. So she thought and fell into a dream. In the morning, everyone crawled out, wrinkled and shaggy from their tents. Camille got up as usual at dawn and had already had time to wash her face and make herself some coffee. Taking a cup, the girl went to the seashore. The sea was quiet and gentle. Camille took off her shoes and went into the water. Suddenly, she saw that someone was swimming. In astonishment, she almost dropped her cup. Looking closer, she realized it was Stephen's boss. Now the fairy tale will be dispelled. He'll say it's a nice morning and all that. Stephen stepped out of the water and picked up a towel lying on the shore. He saw Camille. Would you like to go for a swim? Is the water warm? I do. Then let's go. But I'm not wearing a bathing suit. It's okay. Camille put the cup down. She took off her jeans, remaining in shorts and a t-shirt, gathered her hair in a bundle higher, touched the water with her foot and entered it. With great pleasure, she plunged into it and swam. Stephen washed her and went into the water himself. For a while, they swam side by side in silence. Really warm water. Yes, it's wonderful. I really like swimming in the sea. You swim beautifully. Who taught you to swim? I've been swimming with my parents since I was a kid. I dream of meeting your parents. Why did you forget what we talked about last night? I thought it was a dream, an obsession. It can't be. Turns out it can. They were almost to the shore. You could reach the bottom with your feet. They stopped and threw themselves around each other's necks, kissing like it was the last day of their lives. What if someone saw? I wouldn't want anyone to see, but I don't want to let you go. Neither do I, but I have to go. I'll meet you at breakfast. Okay, let me dry you off in the subway. In the wind, I changed my clothes. I'll tell Miranda I went swimming. Good for you. See you later. See you later. Camille ran to the tent and started to change into dry clothes. Miranda was somewhere, sleepily taking a drag. Went to the sea. The water is very warm. Thought, why not go for a swim while you can? Are you an early bird, sister? You're glowing. Met a fairy on the road. You'll almost know soon enough. Intriguing. What was that meeting? The most important meeting of my life. The one and only sounds like the beginning of a novel. It's gonna get even more interesting from here. I'm looking forward to it. When Camille arrived at her parents' van for breakfast, she saw Stephen there, talking to her father about something. Father was at first puzzled. Then a look of joy came over his face. Mom came out and approached them. They had a lively conversation together. Seeing Camille, Mom gestured to her daughter Stephen. Stephen asks for your hand. And what did you say, Mother? What did you say to him? I said yes. He made an ironclad argument. So Papa and I thought and agreed. Really, what will your father say to that? He'll have to accept my choice. Where are you planning to get married? We'll sign now and have the wedding when Dad gets back from his trip. All right. Advice. Loved, children. Thank you. You've raised a wonderful daughter. Camille helped her parents serve breakfast and ran into the tent to Rick. She quickly laid out and hung the outfits, carried the necessary mannequins, and went back to the back. The girl was all radiant. Rick looked at her for a long time. You were glowing. What happened? Rick, everything changed in my life, you know. I can't believe it myself. I'll tell you later. I'll wait. I'm dying to know. Don't rush me. I'll tell you everything. I couldn't stand it for long, promising to restrain my curiosity. At the end of the day, we started packing. Equipment and costumes were loaded and sent to the city. Those who wished were also able to leave. Those who remained were avid outdoor enthusiasts. Wendy left as well. Miranda stayed. For her sake, stayed. And Christopher followed and sighed. Camille came up to him. Do you love Miranda? I do very much, but I'm not sure it's reciprocated. So what are you waiting for? Now is the time to find out. Do you really think so? Yes, I do. Go and don't come back without an answer. All right, but I have to make up my mind now or never. That's how you're gonna stay. Alone. Got it. I'm coming. Christopher got worried. So where? Christopher went to Miranda's. She was helping her mother and father pack and stow their van. Miranda, can I talk to you for a minute? What's wrong? Christopher, you're not yourself. Tell me, how do you feel about me? What's wrong? I've always been good to you. We've known each other since we were kids. No, that's not it. Tell me, do you like me as a man? Yes, very much. You're going to marry me. Yes, I'm so glad. I've been afraid to ask you this, and I've been agonizing, and I've been waiting for you to make the first move. Well, I did, and I'm so glad I was brave enough to do it. It's like a weight lifted off my mind. Thanks to Camille. She referred me to you. Oh, that's it. But it's a good thing it happened. Not yet. Camille, there's a message from Robert. The deadline's in 3 weeks. I'm waiting. She's upset. How to tell Stephen about her stupidity. The minivis trucks are gone. There were a few tents left with employees who wanted to continue their vacations in nature, who went to the forest, who went to the sea. Everyone had gone off to do their own thing. Stephen found Camille near the tent where the costumes used to be. Forgot 2 boxes. What were you looking at? She was angry. We're loading them into the trunk of my car so they don't spoil. Okay, you take that, and I'll take the boxes and head to the car. Stephen opened the trunk and deftly arranged the boxes inside. Then he turned to Camille and asked if we could go into town now. I want to stay here a while longer. It's very beautiful here. I want you to know everything about me. I have something unpleasant to tell you. What is it? Let's go to the sea. There's a nice place to sit. Let's go. They went to the sea. There was a small storm on the sea. The waves were crashing forcefully against the shore. They walked further along the shore and found a large rock, just like the one on the quay at their secret place. They sat down on it. Stephen looked at Camille in silence. The sun had made her skin golden, and it made her eyes more expressive. She looked at the sea for a long time and finally made up her mind. My own stupidity. I got into a financial hole, borrowed money from a moneylender for a neighborhood boy. He begged for it and said his sister had been threatened. I was laboring and struggling and went to the local moneylender. He lent me the money, of course, but at a robbery interest rate. And then 3 weeks later, it's due, and I got off work and completely lost sight of the deadline. How much will you owe him in interest? $250. Wow, you're really brave. How did you think you were gonna pay him back? He said he'd give me my paycheck, but he's not getting a job, and I'll have to sit on bread and water for the shoes. No, you won't. You're my fiancé now. I'll pay you back. Text me the address. Okay, you're very kind. I don't want you to owe anyone. Except me, of course. He smiled and kissed the top of her head. How do you smell? When I hear that smell, I'm ready to turn the earth upside down just to be near you. Really? Is it really true? My scent has that effect on you. Yes, it does. By the way, I'm waiting for my scent when you make it for me. When we get home, I'll make it. I already have everything I need. I'm looking forward to it. Darling. He put his arm around her, and they watched the waves in silence. Christopher drained and walked through the forest. The forest was filled with the scent of pine needles. The birds sang loudly and chirped. They did not notice anything. All around them, everyone was talking and talking, as if they had met after a long separation. Although they had known each other since they were young children, they had a lot to talk about. Kevin watched the couple from the side. Wow, it turns out our Miranda has quietly found a beau. So I was too late. He went to his car, inwardly cringing that he hadn't confessed his feelings sooner too. He saw Stephen's car and decided to go say goodbye. But he walked around the camp, didn't find him anywhere. He gave up the search, got in the car, and sent his brother a text. I'm going back to town. Everybody went back to town. The next morning, Stephen allowed to come to work later because it was necessary to hand over the materials to the customer. Camille went straight to the office and continued working on her sketches. She liked everything. Everything came out just the way she wanted it to. Wendy came out of her office and announced a general assembly in the conference room. The employees looked at each other perplexed. First off, let me congratulate our first team on winning the competition and assign them a day off, which will be right after our 11th anniversary celebration. The anniversary party will be held a week from today at the Astoria restaurant at 19000. You are all invited. Dress code is parade dress. Everyone understands. Yes, we do. A week later, the restaurant hall resembled a flower garden. Women in evening gowns with cleavage walked arm in arm with gentlemen. The scents of perfume mingled. The restaurant room resembled a beehive. Wendy asked everyone to take their seats. At that time, 2 men entered the room, and the eyes of those present were drawn there. It was Stephen and Camille. They were walking under the arm. She was wearing an elegant champagne-colored silk dress. He was in a tuxedo, but anyone who would have seen them immediately realized the couple in front of him was a man and a woman made for each other. Stephen perfumed the fragrance Camille had created for him. She has long and meticulously selected herbs and thought about the composition of the perfume. It was redesigned several times, and only on the 10th time she managed to reflect Stephen's character in the format, when she brought the jar and gave it to him to try. He was amazed at the incredible flavor. "I really like how you guessed that this is the one I would like. I know how to listen and hear behind the words. While I was chatting with you, I learned a lot about you and your habits. You are incredible. I love you more and more every day. I love you too." Stephen took the microphone and announced loudly, "Dear colleagues and partners, let me introduce you to someone very dear to me, my wife Camille." There was a sepulchral silence in the hall. The female employees who had ridiculed Camille for her cheap outfits were now ready to fall through the ground. The men were staring at the boss's wife, and they invite him. So beautiful, lucky the boss. Christopher and Miranda were also in the audience. They were sitting at the same table. It was no secret to them that Stephen and Camille had signed the day before because they were witnesses. And then they invited Stephen and Camille to be the witnesses at their own signing. So there were two newly formed couples in the audience, and these young men and women truly loved each other. Nancy flew off on another trip, hunting for rare footage. Stephen and Stephen had a serious conversation about recognizing that their relationship was amicable and that respect should continue to be maintained. Nancy did not want to be present at Stephen's wedding, but she promised to come to the wedding and bring an exotic gift.